Right. Anyway, let's get into our team selector. Then head off the trip to Stamford Bridge. Doyley, you can start us off. Goalkeeper and back four.
Right. Well, okay. Right. There's 3 players who are new players who've got COVID. We don't know the names of them officially. However, we do know that Alisson and Firmino weren't training on Thursday. So, using my A-level maths of taking 2 and putting 2 together and coming up with 4, that kind of basis.
Do that at A-level?
I thought you said there was 3 players.
No, I'm just saying 2 + 2 = 4. Using the showing that can actually count. Yeah, using that kind of logic. I got an A-level maths. Yeah.
No, I said, did you do that at A-level?
What?
I didn't think they were about.
Yeah. That was how you started. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to put Kelleher in goal, and then it's got to be Tsimikas at left back, Trent right back. I'm going to go with Van Dijk, and I'm going to go with Konate because I do believe that a little bit of strength and speed up against Lukaku, and that because I'm telling you now, Lukaku will be absolutely massively up for it on Sunday. Totally, no chance. They'll build an entire team around him just in one day, right? So that's what will happen. So yeah, that's the back four and the keeper.
Okay, Joe, do you agree with that, or are you going to change it?
Broadly, yeah. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Doyley's logic for Konate is absolutely spot on, but Matip was one of the players I think that emerged from Leicester with a fair bit of credit, so it feels harsh. But then when you take into account he doesn't have the best fitness record, albeit the season he's done well. 2 games in that amount of days, he probably will put Konate in, yeah. And I agree. Yeah, I think Lukaku would be up for it. But by the way, he's a bloody disgrace, isn't he? I hate him if he plays for Liverpool. I just think, why do you need to always do interviews about how you feel? And he leaves Inter and then bangs on about how much he loves the fans. If you love them that much, why was he banging on about going back to Chelsea when he was at Inter? Why does he bang? It's just. Just
what about when he was on Merseyside and every
international break? And then it's like he still says things like, "Oh, I love the Everton fans. I'd love to go. Maybe I can see myself." How many clubs can he see himself going back to between now and the end of his career? By the way,
how long was he at Everton? Was it 3 years or 4? 3 or 4.
On loan for a year, wasn't he? And then I think 2
and he
after
was.
That.
But the thing is, he was quite clearly the best player at the time. By the way,
yeah.
Because I was covering Everton, and it was just funny that I was like, he's quite clearly the best player for Everton, and the 1 or 2. That my colleagues were like, no, he's lazy, he's rubbish, he's this, that, and the other. Well, he's gone on to play for Man United, Inter Milan, and Chelsea, and he's won loads of trophies. So I think he's won that particular argument.
He's a super player. Don't get me wrong, I like him, but he's a pain. I just wouldn't be able to stomach the constant interviews and.
No, I would love the constant interviews as long as they were with me. That would involve actually speaking to a footballer. Imagine that.
They wouldn't be because it's always back to the foreign media when he's on international duty, isn't he? So.
We're not right. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah, Matt, what about you, mate? What do you see for the Liverpool defence?
Yeah, I agree with the guys. I think there's a good sort of argument really for Konate, but I'd probably just edge towards Joel Matip. I think for obviously the reasons of him being just so experienced. I know there's obviously the edge in physicality for Konate, but I don't think it would be a real worry at all to put Matip in. So yeah, Tsimikas, Van Dijk, Matip and Trent, and obviously Alisson, if he is there, will play. If not, he'll be Kelleher.
Stick with you, Matt, then. What about the midfield?
So midfield, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Without Thiago, I think is a big miss. Obviously, Fabinho, Henderson, and then one more, isn't it? So, I mean, Naby Keita didn't particularly do brilliantly midweek. Possibly would go with him. Oxlade-Chamberlain's an option. James Milner, but would you fancy him from the start? Probably not. I think I'd probably edge towards Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain on the basis of the last couple of weeks, but. Yeah, it's not a particularly easy decision, I don't think.
Yeah, what about yourself, Joe? You going with Ox and then Henderson and Fabinho, or?
I'm tempted to go with Keita because I think he could use the ball quite well in their final third to try and open Chelsea up. But Oxlade-Chamberlain I thought played quite well in the first half at Leicester. Has played well in recent weeks. I'm gonna edge towards Keita. I've just got a funny feeling that I think he could be quite good there. So yeah, I'll go with Keita, but harsh on Oxlade-Chamberlain, who I think was playing quite well.
What about yourself, Doyley?
thought Fabinho was really poor against Leicester
Oh,
because he
often is when he comes back in, though, isn't he?
I think it was more to do with the fact that he didn't want to get booked to miss this game, and now, of course, it wasn't his fault. But this game isn't quite as important as it could have been had Liverpool actually beaten Leicester. So that didn't exactly, it didn't exactly work. But I think he's got to play. I think Henderson's got to play as well. And I go with Keita purely on the basis that he's not going to be there for a couple of weeks. So if he's fit, play him.
Right. Okay, Joe. What about the front three then?
Well, as we were talking about before, Firmino wasn't in the training pictures, so he could be one of the three with COVID. So just got to be Jota, Mane, and Salah. And Salah and Mane are off, aren't they, soon anyway? So I don't think Liverpool have much choice either. Minamino's still injured, Origi's injured. Jota, Mane, Salah, and Harvey Blair coming off the bench.
What about yourself, Matt? Are you in agreement it has to be those three?
Yeah, I mean, if Firmino is fit, I'd be very tempted to take Sadio Mane out. I think he's had a difficult couple of weeks. I'd be tempted to play Jota left, Firmino central, and Salah off the right. But look, if Jurgen Klopp's hands are forced, as we think he might obviously be missing for Firmino for this one, I think it's going to be a case of Mane having to go again. But I know there's obviously the case for him going off to AFCON and you just play him anyway. But I think for this one, I'd have been tempted to take him out, but probably there won't be any choice.
Okay, then. What about then into the score predictions? And I'll go with you first, Joe. You can tell us what the score is going to be at Stamford Bridge, 4:30 kickoff.
Am I playing with no forwards then?
Oh, sorry,
no forwards then, yeah.
Sorry, Johnny. I thought I'd actually already asked you. What about your team then? Go on in.
Well, Kay Gordon, Harvey Blair, no, not really. No, I think, again, unlike Matt, I think Mane has got to play because he's not going to be there for the best part of a month. Salah's got to play. If Firmino is available, I will play him instead of Jota, but as we don't think that he will be, I think it's going to have to be Diogo.
Right, okay then. Joe, I'll ask you now then. What's the score going to be?
Well, I'm going to say, look, I think Liverpool will win. I think they'll win 2-1. And Mane's a funny one because I fancy him to score on Sunday only because people always talk about how poor Mane is, but you think about it, he's still a constant menace to any team that he plays against. He never hides. He always makes runs. He always, whether he makes the wrong decisions at the end of it, he always seems to be the player who's causing teams problems. So for me, I just think he's still a big part of what Liverpool do, even when he's poor. I still think he's better than the alternative, which is to put Firmino in. I still prefer Mane in the team, so I think Liverpool will win. I think Mane will score.
Okay. What about yourself then, Matt? Scoreline?
I'm going to be quite pessimistic about this weekend. I think Man City will batter Arsenal, and I think Liverpool-Chelsea will be 1 each.
Brilliant stuff. Looking forward to that then. Doyle, score?
I'm not surprised, but forget their injuries and the COVID situation at Chelsea. Even before then, they were getting some iffy results. Look, they drew 1-1 with Everton's Z team by almost, didn't they, the other week? That was at home. I think they drew Burnley as well, drew United and jammed it against Leeds. And I think they've been jamming it for most of the season. I mean, there's nothing wrong with scoring goals through defenders or set pieces or from penalties, but it's Jorginho, their top scorer again. He can't be far off. He can't be
him
far
or Reece
off.
James, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think Liverpool, if they get their game plan right, irrelevant to whoever they have playing out there, unless they get loads of cases between now and Sunday, I think Liverpool should win. And they might even win pretty, not comfortably, but I think it may be a game where it underlines the class, or exposes, I should say, the class between what I think is the class between the two teams. It's just a shame that both teams can't be at full strength, because I think that game would have been more indicative, even more so. So I think Liverpool will win 2-0.
Right, okay then. That sums us up for 2021 then here on the Blood Red podcast. Hopefully it's a more prosperous 2022 and plenty more to look forward to and joy to be had in the next calendar year for the Reds. But from myself, Guy Clark, Matt Addison, Joe Rimmer and the joyful Ian Doyle, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.